So we're going to start with the hot water crust pastry. We need to weigh up the flours. So what I'm using is two types of flour, plain flour and strong flour. Overwhelmingly plain flour, in fact 200 grams to 40 grams of strong.
Gluten is the wheat protein in flour that gives the dough its elasticity. Plain flour contains less gluten than strong flour and is used when a crisper texture is needed in the finished bake.
That little bit of strong will give it a little bit of extra gluten to bind it together, to give it that quality. So when we're rolling it out, it stays quite rubbery, which is what you need. The next thing I've got is 50 grams of butter and 60 grams of lard. All right? A little job for you in a minute, Mary.
Is it?
It's just melting the lard in boiling water.
Oh, I can just manage that.
60 grams, you need to melt that in 100 ml of boiling water. 1 teaspoon of salt in that water, please. In here I've got the butter and the flour. While you're doing that, I'm just going to rub this flour.
I'm interested that you're using butter with lard. When I've ever made hot water crust pastry, I've used all lard. Are you adding the butter for flavour?
Unique flavour, it's better. The butter adds that quality of a little bit of dairy in there, that flavour of butter, which is good.
That's melted for you.
Thank you very much indeed. Now this needs to go in here. Obviously at this stage, it is going to be rather hot. Well, the last thing you want is boiling hot fat in your hands. So again, stir it round first, incorporating all the flour. You can see it starting to turn into a proper paste now. I can touch that now. It's cooled off as soon as it impacted on the flour. Make sure you rub round to get everything out of that bowl. Beautifully clean bowl, all on that lump. Just going to put a little bit of flour on there because it's going to take a little bit of work in just into a ball, so it's more of a smooth paste. Just gently work it.
So that's to work in the fat evenly?
That's right, yeah.
Hot water crust pastry requires the mixture to be hot rather than cold, so as to make the dough easier to roll out. The large quantity of liquid used produces a hard, strong finish, making it suitable for holding heavy mixtures.
I'm just going to begin to start flattening. And now it's essentially been worked into a ball.
It looks very good.
Okay, now this one needs to be rolled out with a rolling pin. It's in there. Flatten it down with your fingers first, as much as you can.
Flatten the dough lightly with your fingers and then roll out evenly with a rolling pin until 3 to 5 millimeters thick.
All I'm doing occasionally is just putting a little bit of flour on. I'll tell you why. It relaxes the dough so it can skid back to where it should be. I could go out rolling this to the size of this tray with no flour underneath, and what will happen is when you put the lids in, it'll just shrink back while it's trying to rest.